Okay, so let's begin the class. Yeah. So tell me about from the previous class. Do you guys have any doubts? So in the previous class, we discussed about fact table, dimension table, normalization, and those concepts. So any doubt before we move ahead? No doubt, anyone?
I
Or you
just
guys
want
can?
to,
Yeah.
hi, sir. I just want to say that last time you were writing about creating a table using auto increment, na?
Yes.
Uh, imp- and I researched about it and I got that auto increment in
In Postgre, we
Postgres
use
sequence
serial. In that, we
serial.
use serial.
Yes,
Yes, yes, yes. That
yes,
that
yes.
that
I
comes
do
in other
think.
database. Yeah, that we'll be covering today. But before we move ahead, like any doubt from previous class, because I will conduct quiz either today or tomorrow. Then, so that's why I'm asking. Or you guys were not able to revise anything?
Honestly, sir, I'm not able to revise.
May I know the reason?
Because due to the functions, family function was going there in this week, and guest was there. So I tried my best to revise, but unfortunately, I can't. I just only revise it till create tables. The
I'm
first lecture.
giving. Okay, okay. What about others? Okay, so I'm not conducting the quiz today. I'll conduct that quiz tomorrow. It's fine. Uh, I'm giving you guys 1 day's time, because if you guys will go with this attitude that you guys don't revise the lectures, I'm really sorry. It's not going to help. I mean, I'm not. I understand everyone has busy life. Even I have a busy life, but you guys need to take out time. There is no other option. Otherwise, after the course, you will guys say, okay, it was he just charged money. He didn't teach us anything, right? So if the efforts don't come from your end, I am not a magician who will be able to basically turn your life, right? You need to put the efforts. Tomorrow we will have a MCQ quiz live in the class, and based on the concepts that we have covered till now. Okay. And it's up to you guys. I mean, I cannot force anyone. Again, you have your independent decision, but please, it's my request, because I didn't give any assignment last week. It was just basic theoretical concept which you had to revise. That's it, right? I was supposed to take an MCQ quiz yesterday, but I got busy. But I will be conducting that quiz tomorrow in the live class. I'm telling in advance, so you guys should come prepared. Okay. So, anyways, it's fine. I understand. But please, because from this week, we no today. No, let's have the quiz tomorrow, because tomorrow everyone will be there. A lot of people are not able to join today because they have office and all that. So, let's have the quiz tomorrow. And yes. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Those who have revised is totally fine. I don't know who has revised, who has not. I'm just telling, because things are going to get difficult from now. I'll be giving assignments. If you guys know, we have already launched our website. You will get access this week, and maybe by tomorrow only, I'll give assignments to you on the website. I'll give you assignments separately. So you will have at least 30, 40 SQL questions every week to do. And if you guys miss it, then I mean, at least I want you guys to attempt. And you're not able to, I really don't care if you're not able to solve. That's totally fine. I'm there for you to explain, but I want efforts from your end. Okay. So with that, let's begin the class. Okay. Again, I'm not pinpointing anyone. Don't mind, please. It's just that if you're giving efforts, so okay. So we just a second. Okay. Okay, so far we discussed about the theoretical aspects of database, like what is a database, what is a primary key, foreign key. Okay, Now we are going to discuss the practical implementation, which starts with the crude operations. So does anyone know what are crude operations?
Create, read, update, and delete.
Delete operation, all
Right.
those.
So these are the four things uh, that you should know before, like, writing the SQL queries. We should be knowing what are the crude operations, and even before that, we should know two things. There are two concepts. One concept is database. So basically, one concept is data type. Okay, we discussed about data type a little bit, but we will touch this in more detail today. Okay, after data type, we are going to discuss constraints. Okay, once we have done these two, okay, we will learn about creating tables using data types and constraint, because this is very important. And in today's class you have an assignment which you have to do live in the class. So in the first half we will discuss all the concepts. In the second half I will give you that assignment to solve live in the class. So that is how the structure of this class going to be. Okay, so anyone, any doubt before I begin? Okay, you can type in below if you have any problem. So let's start with the presentation. Just give me a second. So as someone mentioned, there are four in any database, any standard database that we see, SQL, NoSQL, graph database, or any. Every database has this property, crude operations. If these properties are not there, that is not called a valid database. Okay, so that is the main thing. Just let me check if something right. Yes. Okay. So create, read, update, and delete. We did in the last week we discussed about a lot of queries, select star, whatever. Those are called read queries. Okay. Basically, you have database already present in the system. You have to read from them. So these things are there, but the main concept arise in creation, updation, and deletion. So today we will entirely focus on create. Okay, update and delete are very easy ones. You don't need, like, we will cover a few basic concepts, but they are not very difficult to grasp. Main thing comes in create and the create command. So how to basically create command and all that. So let's move towards the data types. Okay, now data types in general, they we know there are numeric, there are character. So they are numeric, they are character. So this is the numeric type, this is the character data type. Then we have date data type mainly, and then we have boolean. These are the four major data types. Apart from this also there are certain data types like JSON data type, all, but those are not required for you right now. I might cover, but it's not required, like at this stage. Just for understanding SQL, it's not required. But yeah, we'll cover a couple of example of those data types as well. But these are the primary ones which you need to you cannot see my screen. Oh, sorry, wait a second. I thought my screen is visible. Just a second. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, please, someone raised hand.
Yes, yes, it's visible.
No, someone raised hand, that's why okay.
Sorry, it's by mistake.
Okay, okay, so we discussed about the, I don't know what is happening. Just a second. There's some issue with my screen. Just give me a second. So displays. Okay, yeah. So basically, there are, as I mentioned, there are four methods: create, read, update, and delete. Read operations we already did. We touched little bit because the 80% of this course is about read operations. Okay, the 80% of the time we'll be discussing about what is happening. Yeah, so 80% of the time we'll be discussing about read operations. Okay, so that is fine, but we need to understand a little bit about create tables, because update and delete are a little bit easy, you will understand. So let's uh, try to understand the data types. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of data types, but mainly fall under four categories. The fifth category is not like we don't need to focus right now. They're a little bit advanced, but we'll see them later. The first comes the numeric data types. Second comes the character data types. We'll be studying each of them in detail. Okay. So first comes your numeric data type, then your character data type, then your date data type, and then your Boolean data type. Okay. So let's study each of them little bit more. Okay. We'll understand this theory a little bit, and then we will move to Postgres, create a table using various data types condition. Okay. So first, let us see. We have, if you see here, we have uh, small int, big int, decimal, numeric, real, double precision, serial. Like these are the major data types. These are their descriptions. These are their example. How do you query, write them in a SQL command? And this is the table where you should know how, when to use it. For example, like generally we think that numbers are numbers, but numbers are mainly categorized into three categories. First is small integer, which varies from -32 this to this one. So -32,768 to 7, so up to this, these are called small integers. Then there is integer, normal integer that we use. It varies from here to here. Okay, so this is how many, 3 so 2 billion approximately, right? So -2 billion, 2 plus 2 billion, that is your integer. Then your big integer, it even comes to like this, something like this. Okay, these are the three. Now, you might be asking that why there are three separate categories for them. The thing is that for it's all about space storage. Remember the char and varchar thing that we discussed in the previous class, that char and varchar both can store the strings. But what is the difference between char and varchar? Can someone tell me? We discussed this.
Char is static and varchar is variable. It means the numbers that we define for char is fixed, but for varchar it's not fixed.
Yes. So
In
basically,
variable, the length is varies.
yeah, in when we use when we declare something as char, it automatic, suppose let's say I define a variable as char 50, it will take the 50 space, does not matter even if I provide a variable of length 1. Okay, rest will be blank spaces. But in varchar it does not happen like that. In varchar what happens, it dynamically takes, even if you've defined something with length 50, and if you're putting a value of 1, it will take the value of 1. So that is how varchar comes. Now same concepts apply in these things: small int, big int, and integer, right? So that's why they are defined separately. Then comes decimal and numeric. These are for Postgres, these are almost same. There's no big difference, but let me tell you how to use them. So when you declare any variable as decimal, there are two things: 10 and 2. So this is called precision. The first part is called precision, and the second part is called your you can say decimal value. So what does it say? That, for example, let us say I'm writing a value, uh, 2368445.12. Okay, let us say this is my whole. So how many digits are there? 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So the precision of this number will be equal to 8. Okay, and this comma s, that is a scale, this will be equal to 2, because 2, it means how many places are coming after the decimal. Okay, so this is called precision. The whole length is called precision, and the number that count of value that comes after decimal place, it is called your scale. So if you read about it, stores fixed point numbers with precision p and scale s, similar to decimal, used for high precision calculation. Basically it's that only. So now these are all, use interchangeably, so you can use decimal as well, numeric as well. It's totally up to you. Okay, so these are the two things which will be very frequently using: a small int, big int, decimal, numeric, these two things. Okay, now let's talk about real, double precision, and wait a second, real. So it stores single precision floating point numbers. So basically, when you don't want to for example, when you want to approximate things, when you don't want, so for, let's say you are saying, for example, but first tell me, is there any doubt in these five before I move ahead? Just read them once, let me know if you have any doubt.
Basically, this int and these things, the range, right? In the interview, it can be asked, right?
No,
Like,
no, no,
why
no one is going to ask you this in interview.
ask
This
this?
is just
Okay,
for your knowledge. This is
yeah.
just for suppose you came across a scenario when you are working on a database, right? And
Hmm.
like you see some, you have to optimize your, like this we will use heavily in performance tuning, because by default what happens whenever we see a number integer, we give it int, or we give it we generally give integer, right? But if the number is small, we should ideally give it a small int. So these all are the concepts of performance tuning, I will say. Okay, so no one is going to ask you what are the values of small int, but yes, someone can ask you how will you optimize the variable allocation. Then you will say, okay, if I can allocate using small int or big int, that's how you can optimize the performance of your database.
Okay. So when if they ask when will you use small int, can you give example? Then in that case,
See,
then
when the range of values is small, example ages, counts, or limited, for example this. Okay, and when do you use int, like moderate things, price, for example age is always 0 to 100, right?
correct,
Generally.
correct.
Or max it will go up to 3 digit, not
Yeah,
beyond
got
that.
it.
So this is
Yeah,
small
yeah.
int. Now when you're talking about for example price of a commodity, now price of a car, for example, now price of a car can be, for example, 1 lakh as well. Okay, and it can be 1 crore as well, or it can be
Yeah.
10 crores as well. So this becomes your normal integer. And when you're doing financial transactions, big transactions, suppose trillions of dollars or like those kind of
Hmm.
things, there you might need to use big int, right?
Again. Hmm.
So
Got it. Okay.
it's
Yeah.
just the use case. So you have to see in which scale your number is lying in. Suppose you see a number, now you're not sure where to put it. You can simply Google it and see, okay, what are the ranges of these? Okay, let me put it in integer or big int or the small int.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't need to remember these. Even I don't remember these values, to be honest. But you just should know there is a concept like this, that I can
Yeah.
optimize the performance of my database.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anyone, any other doubt? Okay, so this is now real is basically used when you have to, for example, and let's say you all know the value of pi. What is the value of pi? 3.14. Like it goes up to like very long. It's an irrational number. It keeps on going. Okay, now if you store 3.14 as just 3.14, okay, or for example the value of g, which we use in our science, we generally approximate it using 10, or we say 9.8, or sometimes we little bit vary. So there we use decimal and numeric, because there you can little bit play around with the values. There exact numbers you can play around, you can approximate things. But when you want to, let's say, use the values for scientific, or where even a single decimal place matters, right? Then you use real, or then you use double precision. So double precision is for more accurate. For example, if you see the difference between real and double precision is that this stores approximately 6 to 7 decimal digits, and double precision stores approximately 15 to 17 decimal digits. Okay, is it clear the difference between so first is this category. In this category, like whatever we are using in this one, we can approximate things. Okay, we can write 9 point, we can write 9.8 as 10 there. But Suppose we did, because in real scenarios, our experiments, these minute changes can cause big differences. So there we use either real or we use double precision. Now, depending upon the case, if you just want 6 to 7 decimal, you will use real. If you want very high, you will use double precision. Okay. Any doubt, anyone? Okay. Now comes the concept of serial. Someone mentioned like serial and big serial. So what are these? These are just, as a data analyst or any analyst, guys, someone has to create tables. It's already, see, don't assume tables are already created. You might have to create. Okay. Don't assume that tables are already created. I, as a data analyst, have prepared tables. So there are some. Let me give you an example. When even a data analyst needs to create a table. For example, data engineering team gives multiple tables. Okay. So let me give a simple example. Why I'm covering this? This is because, see, SQL query we will cover 80% of times, but these are very important concepts. If you don't understand them now, later on you will. So let me just open it. Uh, suppose a data engineering team, suppose you are working as, let's say you're working as a, like, I'll give my example. I was working as a credit risk analyst. Okay. And there, what was my role? That I had to analyze the loan data. I had to, so there was a loan data coming from somewhere. Okay. There was also, for example, transaction data coming from somewhere. Okay. These all data, and similarly there were 3 to 4 more data. These data, a customer profile was coming from here. Okay. So let's say customer data is coming from here. Now you have to, just for my scenario, I had to create a database because I had to eventually create a report. Okay. So I created a data set using all these 3 tables just for me and my team. Okay. Now this data, only in the company, only 22 to 25 people are using it, but your job is to create this. Okay. So I'm not saying that you will be working entirely on optimizing the data sets in detail. No, we are not going to do that, but you should know how to create table, what all variables are there. Sometimes when you see errors, suppose what will happen when you enter the value in a table, you will see error. Unless you are able to know what is this error, you will not be able to debug it, right? So that's why it becomes important. Okay. So don't restrict yourself that tables are already created. You will need to create them. Okay. I mean, don't generalize yourself that. Okay. Okay. Is it clear? So let's move to the next concept. So we discussed about these data types, right? Small int, big int, decimal, all this. Let's move to the next one, that is character data types. These are very few. So we already discussed them. One is char, one is varchar, and other is serial. Is the thing, serial is what we discussed in the previous class. That is auto increment. For example, when you create a primary key and you want into, suppose, customer ID, you want it to increment 1, 2, 3 automatically. The auto increment that we were doing, that is serial. And big serial is serial only for big numbers. So these are mainly used for primary keys, customer ID, transaction ID, like those kind of things. Yeah, please, someone asked, raised hand.
Hello, sir. I just want to ask if I want to create an auto increment from just a number, a given any number that I want. From, like, for example, 100, from 100, I want an auto increment number of
Yeah.
employer ID. Can we create it?
Yeah, you can create it. You can, by default it starts by 1, but you can give customized value as well.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So okay, so now this is data type character. So we discussed, one is character, one is varchar. So we discussed already, basically character are those, they have fixed length of n characters. main difference lies here, that it pads with spaces if the string is shorter than n, right? This is the important part. So if you have defined a variable with value 5, it will always take value 5. For example, right now, for example, let's say a very simple example I will take. Let's say you define a variable country, okay, country with character value 5. Suppose you're or let's say 8. You did this. Now let's say you input a value in this database. Let's say India, INDIA. So how many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 characters are there. Okay. But because you are using it as char, it will take up 8 storage space of 8. Because what will happen? You will get trailing blanks after India. So this is the property of char. In varchar, it will take 5 only. It will not add those trailing spaces. Okay. And remember, char and varchar, they are used for short text. For the longer text, longer length of statement, for example, description, summaries, or logs, those kind of things, you use text. Okay. So it's just the use case is different. If you're using just for normal, for example, up to 20 length or 50 length, or maybe see varchar is good. But if you want 1000 or 2000, right there you use text. Okay. Any doubt? Anyone? Okay.
Sir, sorry, sir. So basically, 1,000. Suppose the paragraph, like we declared the text, there is no limit, and like only if we declare only say like 100 or 50. So in that case, then that space goes waste
In which?
in the text. In the text one, like if we the text, I agree, it stores the large text data. Okay, and there is no limit. And but we write it only, say my description got only 50 words or something, uh, or 50 character length. Then that other the space, like there is no space wastage. Like maybe I'm confused with that varchar and text.
What are you confused? Tell me. Tell me.
Like, yeah, so basically in varchar, it is like the space doesn't go waste. So whatever we declare, so like the name, like if we say varchar 5 and we write India, we give India. So so that much only is like occupied. Or if I will only give varchar 8 and write India also, the space is only 5 is occupied. Is that right?
Um, so basically, you are saying in text, if I am leaving the space, you're saying that, right?
Yeah.
So
Or is it
in
not
text,
possible? I'm basically, it is unlimited. Text is unlimited. There is no question of wastage only.
yes, text you can
Okay.
use any, like up to any length. There's no
Got it.
right. So you can give up to any, right. It will whatever space you are giving in text, for example, it will store up to that.
Yeah, I got it.
I mean, up to
But
that.
I
I mean,
was
exactly here. I mean, exactly. It will store up to 2000. Now, if you are putting 1000, it will still take as 2000. So it behaves as char.
okay. Yeah. That is what I want. Okay.
Yeah. So text and char behave similarly. Varchar is a little bit different.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. Now let's
Excuse
move.
me, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, in char, can we use a number, letter, and special characters also?
You can use anything.
Okay.
In char, you can use number as well. Number, like lot of time you give variables as numbers. So basically, for example, let's say 1, 2, 3. Now you can store this as string as well. So that's what I meant to say. You just apply the inverted quotes, so it will become a string.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay. Now, can someone tell me that? Let me ask a question from everyone. That we were talking about the char data type, right? So let us say I have this number 1, 2, 3. Okay. And suppose we have 1, 1, 2, 3. And then we have, let's say, 134. We have these three numbers. Okay. I store them either as integer and I store them as characters. Okay. Can you tell me if I sort them in ascending to descending, how will they come in integer and how will they come in character? I want the answer from everyone. Tell me the order in integer ascending to descending. So let's say this is these are three numbers 1, 2, 3, right? When I store them as integer, what will be the value from ascending to descending, and what will the value when I store them as character ascending to descending?
The
Just
integer may be the numbers.
first write down. First write down.
So in integer, it may be in ascending to
First
descending.
write down.
This
First write down in the chat box. Then I will discuss. I have to sort from smallest to highest. So ascending to descending, right? Smallest to highest. You have to write down like this. So let's, for integer, I don't think anyone will have any doubt, right? Because for integer, you will just see which number is smaller, which number is higher, right? So 1, 2, 3 will be smaller, correct? 134 is little bit higher than this, and 1123 is this. For integer, this will be the order from ascending to descending. Ascending to descending. This much is clear, right? Everyone, no doubt in the integer part. Now let's discuss the character part. When we are storing them as character, what happens? So a lot of people are giving different answers. Let me tell you the logic. When you store them as character, and when you have to sort them, it will sort using alphabetical order, or this is called lexicographic, something like that, right? So what will happen? First, it will compare. So you have three numbers 1, 2, 3. You have 1, 1, 2, 3. You have 1, 3, 4. Okay. First of all, it will compare the first value. Okay. 1, 1, 1. So all are equal right now. Is it clear? Any doubt, anyone? Okay. Now let's move to the next one. The next in this particular is 2. In this particular is 1, and in this particular is 3, right? So what is it saying in the second, when it compares the second one? This is 2, so this comes second in length. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. Now which is smaller, 1 or 2? 1 is smaller, right? So 1, 1, 2, 3 will come here, and 1, 3, 4 it will come here. Okay. So the order of storage when you have stored them as a character will be 1, 1, 2, 3. It will be 1, 2, 3, and then it will be 1, 3, 4 from ascending to descending if you have to store them as character. Yes, just like in vocabulary. Okay, this is very important. I'm telling you because a lot of time you will get questions, for example, in interviews or somewhere, that you might not notice that the number which is stored is actually character type. And when you do sorting, you don't realize your value, your results come incorrect. Why? Because you are sorting them using character, and when you use them, sort them using character, they don't come like this, they come like this. Okay, so the value, so what you have to do, first you have to convert the character to numeric and then sort them. So this is the main difference when you are storing a number as a character and when you're storing something as integer. Okay, any doubt anyone? And this is very, very important concept, that when you store numbers as integer and when you store numbers in character.
Yeah, so basically, when we declare something as a character, and so I had read on many websites that the ASCII evaluation
Yes,
is
yes, yes,
being done. So, what is that got something to do here also?
yes, yes. Just like dictionary, for example, in dictionary, let's say there's a word which starts with A and it has suppose 18 characters. Okay, it will always come before a word that starts with, let's say, ZE. Let's say there is a word ZE. Although this has only two values, but it starts with Z, which comes after A, right? So that's how this is called the ASCII uh, uh, parameter that you said. But just compare this to a dictionary, how the numbers will appear in a dictionary. That's how number will appear here.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyone, any doubt before I move ahead? Okay. Now let's come to the date data type. Okay. You so basically dates are generally stored, let's say day, year, let's say month, or year, or depending upon how you want it, right? You can change it as per your need. Now there are few. So first is date. If you see, the data type is date. So it stores a calendar date in the format of this. You can change the format. We will study when we study dates in detail, but you can change the format, right? So when to use them? When only date is needed. So there you use date when nothing else apart from date is needed. Okay. When you need time, okay, then you use the data type time. Suppose a variable is there where you are giving current time, or suppose time yesterday, something like that. There you use in the format of hour, minute, seconds. Okay, this is the 24-hour clock that you do. Now the next type of comes timestamp. So timestamp contains both date and the time in the format. So you will see date as well, and you will see the time as well. Okay, this is called timestamp. Now also there's a thing called timestamp Z, where you also add the time zone. So for example, if you see here, it is date, time, and time zone. For example, this is the date, this is the time, and this is the time zone as compared to GMT. Okay, so for example, let's see the common use cases. For date, you will have birth dates, event dates, deadlines, for example. Time, opening hours, shifts, appointment type. Suppose you have appointment at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Okay, timestamp with transaction log. Suppose a transaction occurred on which date, right? So you need date as well, you need time as well. And then you have event logs or something like global scheduling. Suppose you want to send a calendar invite. Now people are sitting, for example, I send this meeting class link, right, to you guys. I am in US, you guys are in India, someone else might be in some other country, right? So to give you basically allocate everyone a common time, I need to use timestamp Z. Okay, so event logs, global scheduling, international timestamp. Then there comes the concept of interval. It stores a time interval or duration. So what it stores this 2 days. For example, let's say you're taking a subscription of 2 days, so it will mention 2 days and it means these many hours or something, whatever is left, right? So we will study each in detail, I mean in the course, but just wanted to give you a basic overview that these type of data types are present, in terms of date data types are present in the systems. Okay, anyone, any doubt in any of the scenario?
So basically, the time will follow 12-hour time or 24 time, or like we can change it
By
according to
default,
our
it's
need.
24 hour. You can change it as well.
Thank you.
Okay. You need to know this because whenever you're creating a database, right, you need to know which variable can take which value. So that's why we use these data types. Okay. Now last comes Boolean. Boolean, we all know it is true or false. So suppose, let's say a customer, whether he defaulted on a loan or not, yes, no, male or female, yes, no, right? So those kind of things are stored as Boolean. So these are the major data types. Now what I will do, first of all, I will show you how to create tables using these conditions, using data types, and enforce, try to insert values in those particular data types. So first of all, let's try to do using the numeric data type. You guys can do parallelly on your system as well, but you guys can follow me because in the end I have an assignment for you in today's class, as I mentioned, right, where I'll give you assignment. I'll give you something to create tables, so you will need to do that. First of all, look at me thoroughly, right? You can practice parallelly if you want, it's up to you, but do understand conceptually what I'm trying to do. Okay. You guys have this PPT in the drive which I shared, so you can access from there. So let me first of all open the PostgreSQL. Can you see my PostgreSQL?
Yes.
Okay. If anyone has any doubt, please directly ask me because I don't have the chat box right now. Okay. So first of all, what we will do, remember whenever we create a database, okay, what we need to do, it is generally created in below format. The format is like you do create table, okay, and suppose table name. Let's say you call table underscore name, okay, and then what you have to do in the table name, you have to provide three things. First is variable name that you are creating, okay. Second it's data type, okay, and third, is there any constraint? So we'll be talking about constraint as well in this class. So right now I have not discussed constraint, so I will skip this. First of all, I will discuss variable name and data type, how to create something by using simply variable name and data type. Okay, so let's create a financial transaction table. For example, create table, let's say I call it financial transaction. Okay, let's say I create something like this. So now I will need to consider, let me show you. So right now I'm going to show you all the numeric data types that we created. Okay, so let's first of all figure out for, no, tell me, for a transaction table, for example, let's say this is a transaction table, what all values, variables could be there. So for a transaction table, generally you have a transaction ID, okay, that suppose you customers are doing multiple transaction daily, so every transaction is assigned a transaction ID. Now can you tell me which type of data type this could be? Suppose I give you
Integer.
integer. Any more specific type of data type?
Long or big int.
First let's
Because
think. The transaction ID will be different from, I'm creating a transaction table, is it right?
Yes.
The transaction ID will be different for each transaction.
correct. Yeah. So in auto incremental we need.
Yeah, so we will use auto incremental. So for auto incremental, what did I mention? We used serial.
Serial. Yeah. Correct.
Okay. Is it clear? Anyone? Generally, this is a primary key, but I'm not mentioning primary key right now. Like you can also add this as primary key. Okay. Primary key. You can also do that, but we will cover constraints in more detail. I am skipping this part right now. It is now. Tell me one thing. Is it mandatory for a table to have a primary key of one variable?
Yeah.
Not mandate.
Yes or no? And what is the reason?
Yes. Reason.
We need to define one particular column by unique value. So we should definitely
Yeah.
need a primary column, primary key, sorry.
Let me give you an example. Okay. Suppose so let's say I have a book ID, okay, and I have a member ID. Suppose there's a library member underscore ID. Now this table basically it tells you which book is with which member, okay, or which type of book is with which member, for example. Okay, suppose there is a book ID 1 which is with multiple members. For example, book ID 101, it is with member, let's say 801. It is also with member 901. Okay, and suppose this member 801 has multiple books. For example, it has 102 book as well, it has 103 book as well. Okay, 801, 801, and this 901 also has another table. Let's say it has it has 105. Tell me, is this a valid table? Is there any primary key here? All both the columns have distinct values. Is this table valid or not?
It is valid. It is a real scenario actually. But
So
there is
you were saying
no.
that it needs to, this table does not have a primary key right now.
Okay.
Do you see any column from these two tables which is unique?
No. No.
Then tell me, is such a type, can I create such a table in database? Yes or no? If I can create yes, then tell me, is primary key mandatory or not?
No, primary key is not mandatory. Without even primary key, you can have table.
Okay.
But it may contain duplicate values.
Yeah.
A primary key can never have a duplicate. Primary key means distinct values only.
Right.
Primary key does not mean duplicate
right?
values.
If the business scenario does not demand a distinct and unique values, then we can just create a table. But technically, we will be allowed. But from the
sorry, your voice is not audible. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
Can you repeat again?
Technically, we can create it. So database doesn't stop us in creating a table without a primary.
So basically, here comes the concept of composite keys. Okay. Here comes the concept of composite keys. So what are composite keys? When you see, thing is, every table needs to have a primary key. This is a must. But it is not necessary that only one column will be the primary key. Okay. This is the concept. So what you can do is you create a new primary key, which you also call composite key, which will be a basically like, for example, you combine these two. For example, it becomes 101-801. Okay. 101-901, 102-801, 103-801, 105-80, 105-901, for example. Okay. Now this becomes your new updated primary key. Are you getting my point? Anyone, any doubt?
So when they ask about composite key, what should we tell? Like it is a composition of non-unique values to create a new key. Is it correct?
Yeah. So basically, you will say that every data may not have both, may not have a unique primary key. Okay, a single column which is a primary key. Okay.
Right.
So so what we do in that case, we combine multiple columns to create a basically we combine two columns to create an updated, a new primary key, and that is called a composite key. You can say that. So when do we use composite key? When my table does not have any column which follows the condition of a primary key, that is all values are distinct and all values are not null.
Yeah. Got.
Is it clear? The candidate key basically is a, you can say, I think it is a so candidate key does not need to be a combination of two. It can be just one column only. Okay, but a composite key can have, so basically a single table can have multiple candidate keys. Candidate key is only which has unique row identifiers. Okay, that is candidate key. But composite keys are those which are actually primary key. They also follow the null values concept as well. Okay.
One question, Satvik. What if we have 101 and 801 getting repeated
Sorry.
In the book ID? If there's another entry in book ID, right? 101 and 801.
So which 101 and 801 you are saying?
Yeah, if there's one more entry, 101 and 801 in the member ID, right? Then we cannot have the unique composite key. When we combine this, then it becomes a duplicate in the composite key, right?
It will be a duplicate record, and why means.
But this is a duplicate record, right? That's what I'm saying. You will delete them. For example, if the rows are entirely same, then you will delete the duplicate records.
Okay.
For example, let's say it is not giving anything additional. For example, let's say something like this is there. There's no other variable, only, for example, only these two variables are there. Okay. Then what is the concept? What is the point of having these two? These are just duplicates, right? So you will remove them from the table.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes, I have one doubt. If it is in any one of that column doesn't having any value null, if it is there, then compost key will work.
So both needs to be not null. Remember, both, it cannot that this is null, then it is not possible. Okay.
Okay.
So both of them need to follow the property of non-null. The only difference is that they might not have all distinct values in each of the rows. Okay.
Okay.
There you use concept of composite key to combine them.
Okay. Thank you.
How do we ensure that we don't get duplicates when we combine the book ID and member ID in the composite key? Do we have to?
So basically, first of all, see this composite key definition you need to define yourself by looking at the data.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So for example, let's say I define a composite key, something like this. Okay. Now when I will do select distinct book ID, so what I mean to say, after removing all the duplicate rows, okay, I check select distinct book ID from this. What will be the result? 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct.
Yep.
If I run a query select distinct member ID from the table, how many values will come?
2.
But when I run select distinct composite key, what will come?
5.
5. Right. So it means that my composite key is basically right. This can be the primary key, because number of rows in the system in the table should be equal to number of distinct composite keys. Is it fine? No, Supriya, it will not. Both need to. Null is not possible. So it's not possible that you create a null here and it becomes a composite key. It will not become. Okay. Is it clear, everyone? Okay. So let's move towards the question. So transaction ID. Now this is a serial and I am just mentioning this as a primary key right now. Okay. Primary key. Let's add more variables in this table. So now let us say this transaction table, it tells that the transaction, for example, this is an ATM withdrawal. Okay. Now, or a bank withdrawal. Now a bank has various branches in a city, for example, correct? It can have 3, 6, 7, like a lot of branches in the table in the city. So let's say branch underscore code. Okay. So so the branch codes are like this. Let me tell you, 101, 201, or generally they are like this only, right? Like IFSC code VUC. So what should be the data type here?
Can we go with integer?
Which integer?
Small
int.
small int.
So we'll go with the small int. Okay, if I check here, it stores the value -32,768 plus 30, right? So for this range of values, I can simply use my small int. Okay. Any doubt, anyone? So I will say small int. Right now, I'm not defining any prime constraint right now. We'll do that later. Okay. Let's call another one, customer underscore ID. Now tell me, what about this? A customer came for a transaction.
We'll go with integer because it might be.
Will it be a serial or not? So let me tell you, this database shows the number of transactions that happened today in a particular city in a bank. Okay. So will this customer ID be serial or it will be integer?
It can be serial because as you said, it might be the number of transactions in a day
Why
happening.
can't a customer withdraw multiple times from different bank? Like I withdraw 1,000 rupees from one branch, 2,000 rupees from another branch. Can't I do that?
Yes.
So it will not be serial. See, again, it depends upon my system. So what do I mean to say? That it could be serial as well, but depends upon your use case. Suppose a customer was doing only one transaction a day, then it would have been serial, right? So it totally depends upon the business case where you're working, the scenario. This I cannot control. This you have to decide based on whatever database you're creating, whatever system you are having. Okay, so this becomes integer. Is it clear, everyone? Let's talk one more thing. For example, account balance, account underscore balance. What will this be?
Big int.
Yes, account balance, big integer. So big int. Okay. Now let's say I do transaction underscore amount. Now what could this be? Let's look at the data types that we are having. We have, so tell me which of this could be the transaction amount.
Decimal.
So can I use a decimal here?
Yes.
Okay,
Or
so I
even
can write
numeric
real. I
can
can,
use.
sorry,
Numeric.
Double precision as well.
so as I mentioned, numeric, decimal, they both are same in Postgres. So either you can use the numeric or decimal. It's up to you. Okay. So let's go with decimal. You can use a numeric as well. They are same. Decimal. Okay. So now what do you need to tell? What is the precision? Let's say, let's call the precision 10, that the transaction value should be of 12. And let's give it 2 decimal places. Okay. Let's do something like this. Okay. And okay. So let's say this is the table that we created. Everyone clear with this creation of table? Any doubt into this? Now what I need to do, I need to insert into this. Okay. So let's first of all see if this table is getting created or not. I'm going slow. I'm explaining this because this concept is very important. If someone feels that it is not required, I mean, you can skip it, but trust me, this is required. You will realize it later. Okay. So create table. So the table is created. Now what will I do? How to check if a table is there? Select star from transact. I will do this. So see, this table is created. Transact ID, branch code, custom ID, account balance. Now, right now, I have not added any value to this table, but this table is created in my database. Is it right? Now I will show you how to insert values to this. So inserting, how to do that? You'll write insert. Okay. into. So insert into, now you need to give the table name. So the table name was transact. Okay. And now let us say, now this is very important. Let me first of all call back the whole table. Okay. So suppose I write down insert into transact. Okay. Now I will give the column names which are I'm going to enter. So I have 5 variables, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here I will need to write down which all columns I am entering. Now tell me, do I need to enter transaction ID here? Do I need to provide that?
No.
It will automatically take. Okay. Whatever value by default, it will start from 1. Otherwise, if you give any value, it will take by default. So I'll show you. So for example, right now I just need branch code. Okay. I'll say I have to insert in branch code. Then I have to insert in customer ID. Okay. Then I have to insert in account balance. Then I have to insert in transaction amount. Okay. Insert into this, I have to write down values. Now I will start writing the value. So now remember, I have to insert so if I don't give a transaction ID, it will start from 1. Otherwise, I can simply say 101, let's say. And now remember, I have not given any transaction ID here, but I'm mentioning here. So it will not create an issue. You can give as well. It's up to you. It is optional. Okay. So you can give, and it's not that you cannot give. You can give it or you can skip it. So whenever you're using these auto increment things, which is the primary key, you can skip it writing from here. Okay. 101. Let us say, so this was my
transaction.
sorry. So this is my branch code. Sorry, no, so what I will do, let's say I just, and this is my transaction ID, for example, 1. Okay. Right now I'm just skipping it. Let's just skip it. Okay. Let's see what comes. Does it show value here or not? Okay. So my branch code is 101. Let's call the customer ID, for example, 1001. Okay. And then I call, let's say, account balance 1200.75. And then I enter transaction amount. So let's say transaction amount was 120.32. Okay. Let's see what it shows. Now when I do select star from transact, okay, let's see what comes. See, it has automatically given me the transaction ID 1. I didn't provide any transaction ID. It by default chose one. Okay. Then branch code, customer ID, account balance, and transaction amount. Okay. Is it clear, everyone? Now let's enter. Now let's try to enter transaction ID. For example, let's say this is, I want to start my transaction ID from 51. Now tell me, will this code run or will this code give me an error?
It will give error.
Why?
Because we are like kind of violating the syntax, because it is supposed to take the okay, no, I don't think so, because whatever we take customize it should take that.
It will give insert has more expression than the target columns. Okay. So what do I mean to say? That whenever you want to give a, for example, primary key of your value, for example, let's say not the default value, then you need to provide something here. Okay. So what it means, you are inserting how many values? 3, 3, 6, 3 to 5, right? You're inserting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. And how many columns are there? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there are 4 columns which you are mentioning, but you are entering 5 values. So it will give an error.
Right. Okay.
So, okay. So how to correct this? So what you will do, insert into this, you will mention transaction ID. Okay. And now suppose you want to start your own transaction ID. For example, you want to say 51. Okay. Branch code 102. Customer, so branch code or customer ID, suppose 1003. Account balance, for example, say, let's say it becomes, and transaction was 23.54, for example. Okay. So now there are 5 values, and now I'm entering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. So now should it run?
Yes.
What is the issue? What do you think? Actually, I was running the table parallelly, so table was getting created again and again. Okay, so now it will run transaction underscore ID, and suppose you want to start something from let's say 52. Now let's do select star from transact. See, I have this created. Okay, so remember this thing. So what is our learning from this particular thing? Our learning is that you, while creating the table, you can skip transaction ID in the column name, then it will automatically start from 1. This is my first learning. Second learning is that if I want to start a primary key of my own choice, I need to provide it explicitly. This is my second learning. Okay, and third thing is, for example, the number of values that you are inserting in the column, okay, it should be same as which you are writing in the for. What do I mean? That when we say that the number of variables which are here, it should be same as the number of variable which are here. This is very important. These are 3 rules that you need to remember. Okay, now any doubt, anyone?
While I have one doubt, while using serial auto increment, if we reach that 51, then automatically it will skip 52 because already we manually entered that 52 transaction ID. It will skip that 52 or how it will look?
I didn't get your question.
In transaction ID, we use a serial.
Yes.
So it goes up to 51. For example, if you are inserting some data up to 51 transaction ID, then 52 already we manually entered that transaction ID.
It will skip it. It will skip it. So it will move to 53.
Okay.
Because this is primary key, right? So it cannot take 52 again.
But here we didn't mention it is not. It is a primary key. We doesn't mention.
I mentioned. Did you remember? I mentioned it primary key. See?
Okay. Oh, okay. If you are not mentioned primary key, then
it will take the value.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So suppose if you don't mention primary key, then it will take 51 again. But if you're mentioning primary key, it will not take. Is it clear?
It's clear. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone, any other doubt?
Hello.
Yes.
In this case, when we were entering the data, inserting the data, the amount balance is inserted in the form of decimal. But because we have taken the data type as big end, it is truncating the decimal value.
Yes.
So, is it possible that we change the data type?
You can change when you will study update command. We will change that in there. So you do update table name and then variable name you change from, let's say, big into decimal. You can do that.
Okay.
We'll study that in update command statements. Okay. Is it clear, everyone? Any other doubt? Okay, so let me quickly show you. So this was how to create using numerical. Okay, now let me quickly show you how do you create table for example, suppose you have character keys. Okay, guys, I understand this is little bit sometime it gets little bit boring, but this part is very important, I'm telling you. Okay, so please bear with me. We'll be doing a lot of interesting case studies as well, but building a database is very important. Okay, especially if any one of you plans to become data engineer or data scientist or something, you need to know how to create it. Even for data analyst, this is important. Okay, I don't want to skip this part. So let's say I want to create table, let's say profiles, or I say, yes, let's say create profiles. Now what I'm doing, I'm creating user profiles here. Okay, for a, let's say, some social media account. For example, I will give user underscore ID. Okay, I give it char and I give it length 8. Okay, and let's say I mention this as primary key. Primary key. So this is my user ID. For example, or on social media, Facebook or Instagram, everyone has a distinct user ID. You have a distinct profile ID, right? Insta ID, you say that is distinct for everyone. Okay, so this is that user ID. Okay, now username. Can username be same for two people?
Yes.
Yeah, username can be same, right? But user ID will be distinct. So what we will say, let's call it varchar. Okay, and we give it length 50, for example. Then suppose on Instagram you write a bio. You'll write down a bio of that person. And now bio will be of which format? Char, varchar, or text?
Text.
Text.
You will use text. Okay. And then suppose you want to check whether the customer's profile, Instagram profile is active or inactive. So you will say is underscore active. Which format will you use now?
Boolean.
Boolean.
Boolean. Okay. Boolean. So this is the data set that you have created. Now you can add some constraint here. For example, let us say in this, you can say that, okay, if the customer has not given the value, by default, make it active only. So what I will do, I will say default by default, I can make it true. Sorry, default, I can make it true. So what does it mean? If I don't provide the value of is active, it will automatically make it true. Is it clear? Let's try to enter values to this particular table. Now, okay, so let's call it default true. So now I have created a table. Now let me do one thing. Let me just insert into this. So insert into my table name profiles. Okay. So what all do I need? So now the thing is that my user ID, although it's primary key, it is starting from it is not starting from 1, if you see that, right? So I will need to mention it here. I will say user underscore ID. Let's say this is my first. Then I will say user name. I'll say bio, and then I will say is underscore active. Okay, so this is my thing. Now I will say values. Now suppose now, so what is the first variable? User ID. User ID, let's call him user 0001. So how many character it has? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this is the first user, and we can give him any username. For example, let's say Sam. Okay, this is his username, and then I have to write a description about him. So I can write down he is a data analyst. This is its description. Okay, and now because I have mentioned it is active here, so I need to write down a true or false here. So I will say, let's call it true. Okay, is it clear, this table creation? Sorry, I need to remove this table profiles. So let me do this thing, select star from profiles. See, this is created. Okay, is it clear how to create we created a numerical table, we created a table using characters. Okay, any doubt, anyone? Yes, please.
Text is going to allocate space only for the number of characters that are written in the bio, or it is going to
Only for, see, I didn't give any text length, so it will take the length that is provided.
in case if we give length, then in that case it is going to
It will terminate at that particular length.
means it will be it will cover give blank spaces in if
It will, there are two things. If your text is less than that, it will give blank spaces. If your text is greater than that, it will terminate, it will basically truncate. Suppose it will truncate at here only, his data, something like that only. Okay,
okay.
सर क्या ये पॉसिबल है? आप हमें टेबल बनाकर दे दिया, यूजर इसको मैनुअली फिल करे जैसे एक्सेल में. सी जनरली, yes, in serial you can start from anywhere. That's what I mentioned. See, I am not starting from 1. You can start from any number. By default it starts from 1, but you can start from any number. Table, either you can create in SQL data, you can import from somewhere else, right? So someone is creating those tables. So like for example, if you do import from an Excel, how do you think it works in backend? If you check the code, you will see this particular code only, that how the table is created, how table is inserted. Okay, so now let me quickly create the last table as well, and then we'll move to constraints, and then we will do some primary key things as well. Okay, so for example, let us say I have to create something based on an event. Suppose now I'm creating a table based on timestamp. So I will say create table events, or I can say event. Okay, so let's call it first of all event underscore id. Okay, now event id is a serial, and I will call it my primary key. Okay, so let's say this is my primary key. Okay, now let's call it, there is an event underscore name, event name, let's call it varchar, and length of 100. I will say event name needs to be there, so I will explicitly mention not null. Okay, then I will say that event date, suppose event underscore date, I need to put some date in here, so I will say date variable, date data type. Okay, now I have to give a start time. Suppose event is starting at what time, start underscore time, so I will use time data type. Okay, now suppose I have to say this event was created at what time. Okay, so I will write down created at underscore at, let's say this is my variable, so I have to give a timestamp to this, that on what day and at what time it was created, timestamp. Okay, and by default you can give it anything. Suppose uh, okay, and let's say is this event online, is underscore online. Okay, you give it a boolean. Okay, so this is how your data is created. Anyone, any doubt in this particular, how I created this particular data? Let me know if you guys have any doubt. Then I will show you how to insert one value, then we'll take a quick break. We will come back with primary key, foreign key, and we will study about constraints, and then we will do some assignment. Okay, which event is coming? Okay,
The table name.
event underscore event 2. Suppose I create this table event 2. Okay. So now let's try to insert the values in this particular database. So how will I do that? So let's do insert into, and I have to get all the insert into table name. So table name is event 2. Okay. Then I will insert, suppose, event ID. Then what do I have? Event name. Okay. Then I have event date. Control C, Control V. Then I have event start time. Then I have created at. Okay. And then I have is online. So let's say these are the variables that I'm inserting it. Okay. Values. So now what do I need to? First of all, I need to give an event ID. Okay. Now I can start from my own as well, or what can I do? I can skip, because it is a primary key. It will take from 1. So it's up to like it can be anything. So suppose in this case I want to skip it. Let it take automatically. Okay. So I have to start event name. So first of all, I will say, let's say SQL class 1. Okay. Let's say this is my event name. Now this will start on a particular date, so I will enter 2024. Okay, let's say 12. For example, today is 7. Okay, so this becomes the start date. Okay, now when was this event created? I can give it a timeline. For example, hours, minutes, suppose 00 seconds. This I can give here. Okay, and is this online? Is this class online? I can mention it as true. Okay, so I'll simply write down true, and that's it. So let me run this. Okay, wait a second. Control X. Okay, event 2. Is online. Wait a second. Insert into event 2. Event 2 event underscore name, which is this. Event date. Start time is online. Am I using any name incorrectly?
Do we need to put codes for true?
No, we don't need to put. Insert.
I think you missed one column.
No, 1, 2, 3. I mean entering 4 column, na? So 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, there are 5 columns. Okay. So event name, event date, start time, and created. So I need to give a start time as well, right? So let's say this is a start time, and let's say created ad needs to be a timestamp, correct? So what will I do? I'll say let's check any timestamp which is available here. We had this particular thing, right? So timestamp generally you can provide, like it is generally given in, let me give a format. So 2024, suppose 1 2, and let's say 01. Okay, then you give 10 00 and 00. Okay, so now this should run. Now let's do select star from event 2. Okay, so when I do this, I will get this particular variable, right? So these tables you will see very commonly. There's a difference between start time, timestamp, right, and all those things. Okay, I hope this is clear. This concept is clear with you guys. Now let's do one thing. Let's take a 10-minute break, and let's come back again, and we will discuss the remaining part, which is primary key and constraint. There are multiple scenarios there, and then I will give you an assignment to solve in class. Okay, so let's take
one small query.
just 1 second. So those who want to take a break, you can take the break. Those who have doubts, they can stay. We will resume at 45. So it's right now 11:35 in India, right? So let's resume at 11:45. Yeah. Yeah, please.
So the table name is not case sensitive, right? We can.
Table name is not case sensitive. I can simply do event 2 as well.
Okay. Thanks.
SQL is not case sensitive.
And Satvik, you have installed this Postgres on your local and configured your client?
Yeah, this is my local. In the course, I will also explain as we move ahead how to set up using cloud, how to connect Postgres to your Python. Those things also we'll study, but later. First, I want to cover all this database concept. Then I want to cover the whole SQL query, like from basic joins, window function, everything, logical operators, everything in detail. Once we are done with that, then I will come back again to addition. So this will come in additional things where you will see how to connect SQL with an API, how to set up SQL in a cloud database, how to set up SQL using Python. Those parts are, because those are optional. Those, not everyone needs them. This is something that everyone needs. That's why I'm covering at start.
Yeah. And what's the client you are using?
Sorry?
What is the client name you are using?
Client, where?
This client, right? It's a DB viewer, or you are using Postgres native client?
Postgres.
One quick question. Normally in Microsoft SQL Server, when we are writing a select query, it would automatically populate when you are typing, right? It would populate the column names or the table names when you are typing, actually.
Sorry, can you repeat?
In Microsoft SQL Server, when we are writing a queries, right? For example, I'm writing select star from, then when I was typing the table name, it
Yes.
would populate a list of table names.
Yeah, it automatically does. Lot of database do that.
So it happens in this also, Postgres also?
No, I don't think, I have not seen that.
We have to type everything, right?
Type manually, yes. In MySQL you see that, in other database also.
Yeah. In other SQL, when normally
Yes, you see that. It's good that if you see, it's good. In Postgres, I haven't seen.
Okay.
Like I have used Snowflake a lot. In Snowflake also they show, but I don't know why.
Yeah, because it would be rather easy to get the column
Yeah,
name.
you cannot remember everything, right? So,
Hmm.
okay. Also, one more thing, because it's a break going on. We have a SQL test this week. Now, again, I have not covered SQL entirely for you guys because we have just started. But there's a live SQL test going on our website. So so let me tell you how to attempt it. Click practice.datascience.com. This website will open. Don't click any of this. This is closed right now. Click on join live quizzes. Okay. You will see a SQL live test. Okay. This test is of 45 minutes. So you need to log in first, and 45-minute test it is. And let me show you how to attempt this particular thing. So if you start this, for example, right, you will see 10 questions. So this is the table. You will see the scenario and you'll see the question, and then you can scroll. This is the table, and this is the expected answer that you need to generate. Okay, this is the coder pad. You will have a timer of 45 minutes, and you can navigate to the questions 1, 2, 3, anyone, from, like, you can choose any question. And good thing is that suppose you write something here, let's say I write down select star from something, and I move to 10th question. When I come back to first question, I will be able to see whatever I wrote from there only. Okay, first thing. Second, you can move this these scrollers. You can totally move it. Suppose you want to make more space for coding, you can do that way, and similarly you can move it vertically as well, up and down. Okay, now run code is just to test the result of your current code. You need to click on the submit code to actually submit the question. If you don't click on the submit code, the test will not be accepted, the question will not be accepted. Okay, similarly, submit for all of the questions. Okay, once you are done, in the end, press submit quiz. Now remember, if you don't click on submit quiz, your test will not be accepted, even if you have submitted this. So submit individual questions as well, and submit the final as well before time runs out. So it's a 45-minute test. You have 10 questions. These are good questions. Again, those who have just started, I will recommend just try to give. Don't worry about whether you score or not. Don't worry about that. But make a habit to give test every week, and we will learn everything, right? So this test is for everyone. You guys can take it, it's optional, but I will recommend you guys to take it. And don't judge if you're not able to score. No problem with that. Okay, but you will learn everything as we move ahead. So I will schedule special tests for you guys as well. But let us learn few concepts, then we will come there. Okay, those who know little bit of SQL, they can try that.
And Satvik, one more request is like you have given the option of submitting quiz in the right hand corner, right top corner.
Yes.
So if you enable that option only in the last question, it would be beneficial, because last time I was having a discussion with one of my friend who suggested your channel. He said that like he completed the first question, and instead of submitting the code, or I don't know for what reason, he submitted the
I'll tell
quiz.
you, last time what was the scene? Remember, we had three buttons here. There was a run code, submit code, and submit quiz. So people were
Okay.
confused what to click. Okay. Now, point is that, see, it could be possible that you are not able to solve all the questions. Suppose you are solving, you are up to fifth question only. Okay. Now, what if you want to submit? Now, so that's why I need to show the submit button everywhere, so that you can submit from anywhere. Now, but thing is that use this only when you have to submit the test finally. And this part is just to test individual questions.
Okay.
Earlier this was present only on the last, and it was present inside there, so it was very confusing. So that's why we have separated it now.
Another question is, suppose we have means we write a code and we run and mm, we submit it, and if suppose again we want to suppose modify it, can it
Yes.
be possible?
Yeah, so basically what will happen, suppose you write a code, you submit it, it comes incorrect. Okay.
Huh.
uh, and next time if you run a code, it gives a true, so it will take the last entry. Remember, it will take you whatever is submitted at the last submission.
Okay, okay.
So
Yeah.
if three were incorrect and fourth was correct, it will take the correct ones. And also this is true. If something was true and you were messing around with, and you just by mistake submitted a false code, so you will get 0 marks there as well. So remember this. Your final entry will be taken into consideration.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And one more doubt, Satvik, like while you were creating the table and while you were inserting that insert values into table, so when you were running the using that run button, it used to run even the table name also, right? Every time whenever you click. So that is the reason you were deleting it, right?
Uh, which one? Which one?
So in Postgres
Yeah, in
SQL,
Postgres. What was that? The create table was happening again, right?
so
So
what if we use a semicolon after the table? So it won't run, right? Like, I mean,
no, it's running the whole code now. So basically, you can just select this one, or you can remove this. You generally we do create or replace table, so that what
Okay.
happens every time you run, it replaces it.
So, I mean, like I am just asking. So after creating the table, if you put a semicolon and we run the code, the table is
No,
created. And when you were trying to insert the values, if you put the semicolon and run the code, it will run only the insert values, or even it will run the
it will
table
run both.
creation
It
code
will run.
also.
It will run entire code that is present on this in the screen.
And what is the purpose of two buttons there on the top right? Like whenever you, I mean, Postgres
Here in
SQL.
Postgres, okay.
So, query and script.
I think query is only for select. Suppose you just select something and then you
Okay.
run this. This is for execute query, and script is the whole code.
So it would be beneficial for us to use that query button, because whenever like
Yeah, it will be beneficial for you to select something, for example,
Mhm.
up to semicolon, and just use this part.
because for every time instead of using control Z, it would be beneficial
Yeah,
for
yeah,
us to
yeah,
use.
yeah. Just write down multiple things. Just select the part and just run this thing.
Thank you.
Okay. And one more thing, in the website, you can, suppose you don't like this layout, you can change the color theme from here. Like I personally preferred the white one, so you can choose this one as well. It's up to you again. And so do attempt the quiz. We will have a lot of this test and this course as well. So yeah. So let's start in 2-3 more minutes.
Safik, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Just wondered how is like MySQL and Postgres are different, because I have a little experience on MySQL, but when I asked ChatGPT or Copilot, it was showing differences. It was
There are
recommending my.
differences in commands, few commands, like few complex commands. For example, you will see that later that let's say you use, for example, you cannot store a JSON schema in your MySQL, but you can store a JSON schema in a PostgreSQL. Similarly, you cannot. There's group concatenation function, which is different in MySQL, different in Postgres. So few functions are there which are named differently, but Postgres has more functionality as compared to MySQL.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let us begin. I think the time is up. So because we have to cover a lot of things in today's class. So uh, let's discuss about the constraints now, right? So we discussed about the data types. Okay, now comes the part constraints. What are constraints? Okay, so let me first of all show you theoretically what does it mean. Then I will show you by using code. So constraints, there are multiple type of constraint. Like for every variable, there can be, whether it is a primary key, for a foreign key, or some condition that this variable will always be less than or greater than. Like those things are there. So let me show you that constraint table I have in the Excel. Yes. Okay. So this Excel I have provided you already. You will see that there. These are the major constraints which are present. I'll show you each of the constraint one by one. The first constraint for any variable is not null. Okay, so what does it mean? That ensure that a column can, so let me just zoom in a little bit. Can you see now everything? Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, so not null is what you use this. So what does a constraint mean? It means you are imposing some condition on the way on the column or that you're creating. Okay, it means that. So not null means ensures a column cannot store null values. Okay, we will see how this is created. We will see in the example. Unique means ensure all the values in a column or a group are unique. So for example, what happens? Suppose let's say there is a column, okay, which you constrain as unique. Suppose a 101 key is present. If you try to insert another key of with value 101, it will throw an error. It will say that unique key error, something like that. Okay. Now, primary key is a combination of not null and unique. So these two constraints combined are called primary key. It combines not null and it unique to uniquely identify each row in a table. Okay. So instead of writing primary key, you can also write down these two things parallelly. Okay. So combines not null and unique to uniquely identify each row in the table. This is primary key. Foreign key, we know, we discussed in the last class as well, that any key which references any column which references the primary key of another table. Okay, and it ensures referential integrity. What does this mean? Can you tell me? Referential integrity. What is the meaning of referential integrity for a foreign
The
key?
relation has two tables.
The relation has,
In two tables.
but there are, is that the meaning of referential integrity? Anything else? I mentioned two things. Those who attended in the last class should remember. I mentioned two things about foreign key. What is the meaning of referential integrity?
It refers to the unique thing to the other table.
That's a definition. That's a definition of a foreign key. It means that primary for any column that refers to the primary key of other table is called a foreign key. That is fine, but there are some conditions as well, which we called them as referential integrity. Guys, you need to revise the lectures, and because you should know this. Okay, the first thing is that foreign key values can be null. Okay, this is the first property. So there are two meanings of referential. First of all, it means that foreign key values can be null. Okay, primary key cannot be null, but foreign key can be null in a column. Is it clear? Second thing,
Yes.
the main meaning of referential integrity is that there's two table, child table and the, yes, exactly, Supriya. So child table and the primary and the parent table. We cannot have a value in child table which is not present in parent table. So what does it mean? Suppose in the child table you have 101, 102 and 103, and in your parent table you have 101, 102. This type is not possible. So 103 needs to be there. So all the values, distinct values in the child table should be present in your primary key table. Okay, this is the meaning that we cannot have a foreign key which is not mentioned in the other table which is it referring to. This is the meaning of referential integrity. So for the definition of foreign key is this only. It can be null, but while referring, the parent table should always have all the distinct values. Is it clear, everyone? Okay. Now let's move towards few other check. Check means suppose you want to say a variable should be greater than 0. So we'll write down check and something greater. We will see that. Default, we know by default you put a value that okay, it assigns a default value to column if no value is provided during the insertion. Okay. Enum. What does enum mean? It means enumerate. Those who know Python, we use enumerate concept there. So what is there? You say that this column can have only these three values. For example, let us say I speak about course. A person is taking courses, for example, of data analytics, right? For example, the course could be SQL, the course could be Python, or let's say the course could be miscellaneous. Only these three values can be present in the column. So what does it mean? Enum basically says that you provide a list of values and that column will contain only one of those values. It cannot take any value which lies outside of that particular list. Okay, this is the meaning of enum. We will see how it is created. Then comes on delete cascade and on update. I'll explain you while creating the table only. Composite key we discussed. Okay, exclusion means suppose we want to exclude certain variables or values. These are called exclusion. These two I will explain in detail today only. Okay, so let's start one thing. Let's do all this primary key, this constraint thing one by one. And once this is done, I will give you an assignment and you have to solve that in today's live class only. Okay, so let's begin with the coding part. So the first constraint that I'm going to show you is called not null. Okay, so suppose I create a table. Let's say I create a table people. Okay, I say that let's say member ID. In this I create a member ID and I call it serial, and this is primary key which we just discussed. Okay, and suppose we say that there's a variable name, okay, which is varchar Okay, and let's say its length is 100, and I explicitly mention here not null. Okay, suppose I've created this table. So what will it ensure? Not null will ensure that while creating the name, okay, let me call it names. Let's call it names1, for example. Okay, so this variable names1, it cannot be null. Remember, if I try to insert anytime null, it will throw me an error. So let me show you. I say insert into people. Okay, insert into people. Suppose I want to insert the names1, because let's say member ID is primary key, it will take value by default 1. Okay, names1, and I insert values. Okay, and suppose the first value that I enter is let's say I enter this only, Virat Kohli, for example. Okay, wait a second. Okay, so this query ran, and now let me just check select star from people. Okay, so what I will do, I'll just select this one and I will execute this particular. Do you want to run this query? Click don't ask again, and it will only run this select star from people. Okay, so it gave me this part. Suppose I want to insert a null value to this. What I do, let me just copy this, Control C, and I try to insert, instead of Virat Kohli, I just mention a value called null. Will it take it? Will it take it or not?
No.
So it will give an error. See, failing row contains num. The null value of relation people violates the not null constraint. It means it is violating this particular constraint. Okay. So what do we understand from this? That if we give any constraint, we basically cannot provide. We cannot basically change that. Okay. So this is the first thing. All good? Okay. Now let us study the second constraint. So we did the, for example, first of all, we did the not null constraint, not null. Okay. Now let's do the unique constraint. Okay. So for example, let's say in this table, I enter, let's call a variable city. Let's, which is varchar. Okay. And let's say there can only be one person from one city. So this city should always have unique value, for example. So let's say 20, and I call it unique. Okay, I will execute this. Sorry, I didn't put the comma here. People is already existing, right? So I will just use something else, people2, for example. People2. Okay, so this table worked. Now I do select star from people2. So when I run this, I have got this city. Now let me try to insert values to this. Okay, so what I will do, insert into people2, right? And insert into people2, what will I need to do? I need to provide, let's say, names1, and let's say I provide a value city. Okay, and now I will give values. Okay, now let's call the values. First of all, let the name1 was same name which we were using, Virat, for example, and city, for example, let's call it Bangalore, for example. Okay, so this is my statement. Insert into this Virat Bangalore, and I will provide a semicolon. Let me just copy this one thing once more. So the second place, for example, I will say another name, and so let's first run this query. The first query, will it run? Because table is blank, there is no value as Bangalore present in my table. So when I run this, okay, now let me do this then. Select star from people 2. Okay, now when I will run this table, I will be able to see this. See, Virat from Bangalore is coming. Now when I try to insert the next value, Rohit from Bangalore, will this run or not?
It won't.
It won't run because Bangalore is already there. Can I insert this? Tell me this. Okay, suppose, can I insert Virat again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Suppose I name it some other city. Let's say I call this. Can I insert this thing? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 What's the reason?
Because we did not give any constraint.
Any such unique constraint for I mean,
So
We did not give unique constraint for
only
names.
constraint for names is that it should not be a null. There's no constraint like that. It cannot be unique. Okay. So
yeah.
Virat can be copied. Okay. But if I try to copy Bangalore again, then it will throw me error. So the error comes because of the second column, not in the first column. Okay. So see, it is giving it violates this condition. All good? Any doubt till this point?
No.
Okay. Okay. So this is basically, these are two basic ones. Now let's study a little bit about primary key and the foreign key. That is important. So third, we are going to study primary key, and the fourth, we are going to study how to build relationship using foreign key. Okay. If anyone has any doubt, please let me know. Okay. So how do we build? For example, let me do one thing. Let me create a new table. Create, for example, table books. Okay, book 1. So what I'm doing, I'm going to do here, I'll say, let's say call it a book underscore ID. Okay, and let's say this is a serial, and how to declare a primary key, I will say primary key, right? This is how you declare a primary key. You mention it as serial, okay, and you mention it as primary key, or you can ignore serial as well. For example, serial is not. Now tell me one thing, is serial mandatory to be a primary key? Is it necessary to write serial when I'm mentioning a primary key? Yes or no? With reason.
See, it depends on case to case. Like now here, when you're doing book ID, then serial need to be mentioned. That's what I think.
Tell me, I want answers. While declaring a variable as primary key, do I need to mention if it is serial or not? Or is it required it to be a serial?
No.
Why?
No.
What's the reason?
Because I think primary key will be anyways unique and no need to increment it or auto increment it. It will like as and as we go on adding the records of books, then it will automatically take it and a unique or
That is also true. Main thing is that, see, primary key, the definition of primary key is unique. It does not mean that the variable should be incremental or decremental in order. So it does. So for example, primary key can, so 101, 104, 108. This can also be a primary key, right? It is not necessary that it should be 101, 102, 103. It is not necessary for it to be a serial order. Okay. The only condition is that it should be distinct and it should not have null. Okay. Now if it for example, let's say one ID is 101, other is this, other is this, do they represent a primary key? Yes or no?
Yes.
They represent a primary key because they are distinct. Okay,
Yeah.
they need not to form any particular. So so all serials are primary key, but all primary key are not serials. Do you understand? So let me repeat.
Yeah.
All serials are primary key, but all primary key are not serials. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Anyone, any doubt? Okay, so this is how we created a primary key. Okay, so we will say book ID, for example, and let's call it so this is my book ID. I created primary key. Let me create a title as well, which is not necessarily primary key. I will say title, and I will call it let's say varchar. I will mention as 100. Okay, so this is my book one table. Now tell me, this is my primary key. Okay, now I need to know how to create a foreign key. Correct? So let's say I create a new table, create table, let's say borrow books. Okay, this contains basically I will say that whoever has borrowed a book from somewhere. Okay, so borrow books. Okay, now so what it will have, for example, let's say it has member underscore id. Okay, which is serial, which is primary key. Now it also has a variable book underscore id. Okay, which is integer. Now how you need to write, so basically let's say this is the foreign key. So how do you refer, so how do you declare it? So what do you say? You write down references. Okay, it means this particular variable, it references to something. Okay, and to what it references?
Primary key of book one.
So book one, which is my main table, primary parent table, here it references book underscore id. Let me know if this is clear, if this makes sense or not. Any doubt in this?
So can you explain once again, please?
What
Like,
part? What part you didn't understand? Tell
the
me.
other table that we have created now from so basically foreign key we need
Let,
in
let,
case.
let me just first of all create in Excel. That let's understand in Excel first. Okay. So suppose you have what you do is you have a table uh, book. I'll increase the font. Just give me a second. Book underscore id slash title. Okay. Let's say this is your one table. Okay, and this is your one table. Okay, so this contains books and their titles. For example, book ID will be 101. It will be, let's say, there will be a lot of titles here. So book ID 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, something like this. Okay, let's say there are 5 books which have respective titles here. Okay, let's say the title is A, B, C, D, E. Okay, this is your table. What is the primary key of this table?
Title.
No.
Book ID.
Book ID. Title is different for each book. I just
Sorry,
mentioned
book ID. Yeah.
this is my first table. Okay.
Mm.
This is my second table, which contains people who have borrowed books. Okay. Let's say in library, people who have borrowed books. So you have library member ID. Okay. And what do you have? Book ID.
Book
That
ID.
which book person has borrowed. So
Hmm.
tell me here, what is the so here the member ID suppose starts from 1001. Okay. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. So let's say this member ID. Now, what is the primary key of this particular table?
Member ID.
Member ID.
Member ID, right? Now, each member is having different books, correct? Of
Right.
two people. So what is there? So let's say book ID, for example, 101. Let's say two people are having same book ID. Book ID means suppose one book, there can be multiple copies of that, but let's call them one book ID only. Okay. Let's say there is a book Harry Potter. It has two copies. The book ID will remain same for them. Book ID 101, 101. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say this is having 102. This is having 103. This is having 103, for example. Is this data clear? First of all, tell me.
Yeah.
So when we create this table, when we are creating this particular table, so remember, whenever we are using foreign key, we need to have two tables at least. This is my parent table. This is my child table. You cannot declare a foreign key on itself. You need two tables.
Two tables.
Your foreign key variable should always refer to some of the table, either this or this, right? So here it is referring to this table. So when you're creating parent table, you'll write down like create table, parent, whatever. Book ID is your primary key, correct?
Yeah.
Now, parent tables can be created standalone. They don't need any like parent table can have like their parent table as well. I mean, of course, that nature can be there. I'm not denying that. But right now, there's no foreign key here in this table as of now. But in this table, there is a foreign key. So foreign key should always refer to something. Agreed?
Yeah.
So when you're defining foreign key, which is book ID here, book ID, which is your foreign key, it should always refer to something, right? This column should refer to something. So here it is referring to this column. So you'll mention that it, for example, whatever the keyword we are using, it references. Okay. Now you need what you need. You need, for example, this table is books. In the books table, you have the column book ID. So which this column is referencing to what? It is referencing to books. And inside books, it is referencing to column book underscore ID. This is the syntax to write a foreign key.
Okay.
Is the logic clear, first of all?
Yeah. It is clear.
Anyone?
Another doubt is like, now here we have one child table, correct? Means one parent is there, other child there, in which that other key is referencing it to the parent table primary key.
Yes.
Can we have like multiple child tables?
So in this table, we can have multiple foreign keys. Okay. For each will be referring. For example, there's a table here. There's a table here. So one column will refer here, one column will refer here, one column will refer here. Okay. So those type of relationship can exist.
Okay.
Any doubt, anyone?
I have one doubt. How we can mention that data type if it is in foreign key, primary key we mentioned serial, but in
serial is by default integer, so that you have to ensure.
Yes, but in foreign key we mentioned integer. So
serial key is by default integer. That's why.
Integer. Okay. Thank you.
Otherwise, you can change it. You can change it on your own as well. So data type should be common. Should be same for these two. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Now let me ask you one question. Sorry.
How we got the duplicates for the foreign key in the book ID, the child table, right? 101, 101. When it is referring to the primary key in the books table.
Yes.
Is it possible that we can have duplicates in the foreign key?
Foreign key can have duplicates. That's what I told. If you remember, foreign key can have duplicates.
Can have duplicates. Okay.
Yes. Foreign key can have duplicates, but what cannot be there is foreign key cannot contain those values which are not present in primary key. So this is my primary key. This is my parent table. This is my child table. This cannot contain a book ID with name as 106.
Got it. Okay.
because it is there. Now let me ask you a question to everyone. Please listen to me very carefully. Suppose this is my primary key, this is my parent table, this is my child table. Agreed? Suppose
Yes.
I do some activity. What I do, I delete, for example, from this books table, I delete this row. Okay. So let's say delete the delete ID 101, book ID from my main table. Now my child table contains 101, but it is not present in my parent table. What will happen?
Value not found.
Error.
Error.
It won't be a foreign key anymore.
Yeah, it will not act as a foreign key.
So how do, suppose you have created a foreign key? How do you ensure? You're right, it will give an error. How can you correct this? That if the table is, so basically, if the foreign key relationship has to be established between these two tables, what can we do?
Referential integrity.
So what we'll have to do, what we'll have to, so this is a concept called, while creating the foreign key, you mentioned on delete, okay, cascade. So what it does is that whenever you delete any key from the primary table, okay, it automatically deletes it from the child table as well. But make sure you have given a foreign key relationship between them. Okay. If you have not given a foreign key relationship, then it will not delete. So while writing the foreign key relationship, if you write this part extra, it will ensure that foreign key relation is always established. Okay. If you don't give this thing, suppose you don't write this. You don't write this. What will happen? If you delete a column from here, the foreign key relation will break down. Okay. So that will not be a foreign key anymore. But how do we maintain that foreign key? We need to use this method on delete cascade. We will study it in some time only. But the concept, do you understand? Anyone, any doubt? The concept of delete cascade, we will study it in detail, but
So means when we are giving a delete statement, while deleting it, means one of the rows in the primary table itself, means in the parent table itself, that time only we have to give the syntax cascade. Is that right?
when we are writing the command here, the foreign key command, when we are writing here, right? For example, references here. When we are writing a foreign key command, we have to write down on delete this thing. Okay.
Oh,
We have to
okay.
write down this thing.
Got it.
Okay. Is it clear? I'll explain with example as well. But is it clear till now?
Yeah.
So okay. So let me let me show you with some examples. Okay. Then I think the major part is covered. The on delete scat. There are a couple of more things I'll explain, and then we can simply move to the assignment today. So what is going to happen? So suppose I created this book one table. Let me insert some values there. Okay. So insert into book one. What should I enter here? Let's call it book underscore ID and title values. Let me enter 5 values in this table. Okay. So I will enter, for example, 101 is my book ID. Okay. Title, I can say, for example, let's say ABC, because title does not matter to me right now. Okay. ABC. Then I enter the insert into this values ABC. Okay. Similarly, I will just copy it 5 times. 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's say my second is 102, third is 103, then it is 104, and it is 105. Okay. And let's say this is ABCDEF, this is GHI, this is JKLMNO. Okay. So these are my 5 statements. Let me run them. Book 1. Oh, okay, I didn't create the table. Sorry. So this is it. Now let me just check the book 1. Select star from book 1. So let me just run this query. Let's see if everything is populated. Yes. So my table 1 is populated now. Now what I need to create? I need to create this borrow books as well. So I'll simply just copy these 5 statements from here. So insert into borrow books, borrow books, borrow books, borrow books. So first is member ID. On cascade is not done on the primary key. This is the parent table. On cascade is done on the foreign key statement. Okay. So member ID, and what is my, let's call it book ID. Okay. So I'll just copy it once again. So let's call it member ID is 1001 and book ID is, for example, 101. I'll copy it. The same table which I created there, I'll create here. 3. Okay. So let's say member ID is 1002, 1003, 1004. Okay. And 4, 1005. And so let's say this is 102, 103, 103. Okay. And I have to here mention book from book 1, it refers book ID on. So on delete. Okay. This is the table that I have created. Now let me run this. And let me run this. Now we will see different scenarios of the tables. Select star from, what is my table? Borrow books. So this is my borrow books. Sorry. How did it come here? Okay. Select star from borrow books. Yeah. So this is my borrow books, right? Okay. Now what do we need to see? I need to see if I delete any. So remember, borrow books is my child table. And what is my primary table? It is book 1. Agreed, everyone? Any doubt? Okay. So this is while creating, I have given this foreign key relationship that book ID from borrow book refers to the book ID from my main table, book 1. And I have given on delete cascade. So first of all, let's check it out. Suppose from the book 1 table, I delete, what I do, delete from book 1. Okay. Where let's say book underscore ID is equal to 101. Okay. Now what do we expect? Once I delete from book 1, it should automatically get deleted from my borrow books. Agreed?
Yes.
So let's check if this works or not. Delete from book 1 where book ID is 101. So first of all, let's run this query. Let's check if it is deleted from book 1. So from book 1, the table is, the rows are deleted. Agreed? Now let's check out borrow books. From borrow books, it's also deleted now. Is the concept clear to everyone? On delete cascade.
Yeah.
Anyone, any doubt? This was very important to understand how the relationships are held between them. Okay.
Okay.
On delete
What if we
cascade.
don't have on delete?
Sorry.
What if we don't have the on delete on the child table?
If you don't delete this, okay, let's check it out. Let's try to see. Okay, suppose let's name this as book 2. Okay, and let's call everything book 2, book 2, book 2, book 2, book 2. Okay, so first of all, let's run this table. Let's create a table book 2. Select star from book 2. Okay, I have this book 2 created. Now from borrow books, I need to run these two queries once again. Okay, no, basically it was holding a relationship, right? So I'll create it borrow books 1. I'll delete this on cascade statement. Okay, and then it was my book 2, right? So it is referring to book 2, book ID.
Yeah, let's make it borrow books 2 as well, right? So book 2, borrow books 2.
Okay, let's call it borrow books 2. Okay. Now I'm entering all the values. Let's see, first of all, see if the table is created. So select star from borrow books 2. Let me do that. Select star from borrow books 2. So this is my book borrow books 2. Right now on delete cascade relationship is not there. So I have all this, and from book 2 I have all 101. Now let me try to delete from book 2 where ID is equal to 101. So let me run this query.
Okay.
See, it violates the foreign key constraint, so it will not let you delete.
Delete it, okay.
Right, because it will break the foreign key relationship, because you have now either this could, because you have already mentioned a foreign key statement. So foreign key has to be hold. If you delete it, the foreign key will go away. To hold it, it will not allow you to delete the table from deleted. Anyone, any doubt in this concept which we did?
So basically, without that delete cascade, it will not even allow you to delete the record from the
statement, because if it allows, it will change this, because this relationship is already holding, right? You have already mentioned. Okay, so this cannot change. Now if this cannot change, it means that you cannot delete the rows.
Yeah, got it.
Does it make sense, everyone?
Yeah.
Anyone, any doubt? Okay, so let me just give two. There are two more constraints I want to tell you, then I'll give you the assignment. Okay, the first constraint is enumerate. Basically what we say, that suppose certain values belong to, I will say, a particular range only. Suppose you are given that, okay, the cities can be A or B only, right? There what you do, you provide a method called enumerate. Okay, that is done there. And another concept I want to tell is called the composite key. So what you do here, suppose in the, let me just put everything in the down. Okay, so what you do here, you will, let's say, book ID, title, and suppose let's say student underscore type. You write down it as NM. You can make it small or capital, it's up to you. Okay, now you have to provide the values. For example, you can say he's an engineering student. You can give he's a, for example, let us say doctor. Let's say he's a, or he could be a sports person, for example. There are three values which you are giving. 3 constraints which you are actually providing them. So let's call it book 3. Student underscore type. Wait a second. I just need to cross check. This is right. Yes. Books 3. Student type. Is it this? Create table. Type enum does not exist. What is it is called? It is. I need to check if it is in Postgres. Is it something else? Let me just cross check it. Data type, right? We did here. In the Excel, let me just check it. Enum. Create type status as enum. Create. Okay, I think it is created like this. Okay, I need to just check it once again. Even I have not used it for long. Just let me give a second.
We need to give the as this thing or
Type status
as enum, na?
as enum. So let me just check in here. Student type as enum. Let's check if it works. No. If I create it outside of the table, it is showing me to create outside of the table. Let's do one thing. Let's say create student type as enum. Okay. Let's see if this runs. There is something wrong here. This is working. SQL create type status as enum. So this is the create type, then is the variable name, right? So if I check the command create, I think it should be create type student type as enum. Okay, and then you're passing it. Let's check it out. Create type. Sorry, just give me a second, guys. I just need to check it. Create this as enum. Let's call it 4. Okay, I will check that. I will let you know in tomorrow's class. Don't worry. So basically, this is one. The objective of this enum is that you need to basically provide engineering, doctor, sports. If you enter any value apart from this, it will throw an error. Okay, this is the main objective of enum. So that's it. Like these are the major constraints. One was of
It is right only, sir. The syntax is right only. I checked on Google. What you are doing means create type. That create is not required also.
Is
this
it like
one
this?
only was right, and as also that word is not required.
But it's giving it. I will check it after the class, because if I explore right now, it will like take away the time. So I will study. I'll check it and I'll let you know in tomorrow's class about enum. Okay. So let's do one thing. Based on whatever we did now you should be able to solve this assignment. So this was today, like we did data types, we did constraints, how to create. Now remember, you don't need to remember all these values. See, even I didn't remember. Okay, what you need to do, you should know something like this exists. Okay, so that you can Google, you can basically write it down. For example, a lot of time you will not need to create these databases from the scratch. In maximum time, 95% you won't need to create a database in scratch, but the codes will already be present. Sometimes you will need to basically optimize it. Sometimes you will need to make some changes because the code is not running. So you should understand these syntaxes. What are they? Okay, you don't need to remember all these data types. No one remembers, to be honest. Okay, but because there can be more data types beyond this as well. So it's totally fine. Just know what all data types are there, what type of constraints are available. I have a condition of check where I can simply utilize. For example, what do we do in check? We say that check, and we say value greater than 0, less than 0, something like that. Okay, those things we do. And when, as per the question, understand this and understand the code. If you're not able to write, just take help from Google or ChatGPT maybe, right? And you can write down that code. Okay, only the understand the conceptual part. Don't try to remember all these data types. No, it's not beneficial to remember. Okay, so now let's do one thing. We have like half an hour remaining, almost 20 minutes. Let's do an assignment. So in the PPT that I've given you, you will find this assignment from the slide 9. Okay, where you have to do this in live class only. So let me explain you. So you are tasked with designing an e-commerce database for a system that manages. You need to create 3 tables: products, customers, and orders. Okay, for each product table, you need to create these columns: product ID, name, category. You can skip the enum part right now, okay, because I was not able to tell you. I will explore meanwhile. uh, Price, stock, created at. Okay, these things. Then you need to create a table, customer table. Okay, which should have these variables. Then you need to create another orders table which should have these. And then your task is this: design the schema, write the schema statements for all these things. Then you have to test the constraints for each table, test valid records, and attempt to insert the invalid records. Try to insert duplicate values, see if they are accepted or not accepted, right? Now skip the third part right now because we have less time. So try to do these first 2 questions in live class. Okay, you have your respective SQL databases. Try to create them. This PPT is present on the drive I already shared with you, so get it from there. Meanwhile, let me try to explore the enum part. I will do that. You guys solve the assignment. I'm giving you 15 minutes. Okay, I think at least try to write down basic table. Not don't create all the columns. At least try to create the basic commands for all the 3 tables. Okay, so yeah, if you have any doubt, you can ask. I'm meanwhile I'm exploring the enum part, that how to exactly write it.
Last 4 slides.
The slide is present with you, in your drive. You can check it from there.
So can you paste the link? I'm actually on the laptop, so
Okay, so I am pasting the link. See, if you go here, just share a link. Go here, and this is the link. You can download the PPT or PDF from here, and you can see that question there. Okay, I am meanwhile exploring the enum part. Uh, so you have 15 minutes to attempt this question. Okay. Yeah, so I have explored it. The enum part, I will explain. First, let me know, are you guys able to create the tables? Although there's like 10 minutes remaining, just asking. Are you guys able to understand the question? Yeah, right now do without enum. In enum, I will explain. How are you ensuring that price is greater than 0? You have just mentioned price numeric. Where is mentioned that price should be positive? Anyone else? Are you guys not able to write the code? At least write something. Tell me, because 10 minutes are over. If you are using PostgreSQL, it will give auto, it will give error. Try writing serial. See, and after serial, auto increment is not required. Serial by default means auto increment. So after serial, remove the auto increment, just write primary key. Why have you mentioned product ID identity 1, 1? What does this mean? Abhi, I'm asking you. Okay. You're using which SQL? Which? No, I'm asking which SQL, which like Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, which are you using? Okay. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. So guys, 5 more minutes. After that, I will discuss it. Okay, please finish it before that. 15 minutes are more than enough for this question. So 2 more minutes.
Saket, in the order table, there is a column called total price where you mentioned it as quantity into price. I mean, like how to
Just let me check it. Which table is it?
third table.
Okay.
So there is a call. I'm
Which
stuck with the column total price.
this one. So you have
Yeah.
to basically mention that it is a product of two tables, product of two columns.
Okay. I mean, like
Uh,
write all columns, but I don't know how to mention that quantity into price in the table.
the quantity is there, right? Quantity is this
Okay.
variable. Okay.
Mm.
And total, is there any variable price?
In the table, it is not there, but product table have that price.
So product table has that price, right? So you'll have to
Yes.
fetch it from there.
Okay.
But see, thing is that right now you are not you're just creating variables. Okay.
Okay.
You don't need to provide any calculation right now.
Okay. I'm like just total price, constant type,
See,
and check
for
must be
total
greater than
price,
zero.
see, remember variable, data type, and constraint. That's
Okay.
what you need to write. Okay.
Okay.
The formula will be written while you are writing the values, inserting the values. So though that you don't need to write now. Just create, mention it as, for example, a total price, right? It is a number, integer, whatever you write down, and put the constraint that it is greater than 0. Don't write down any calculation, right?
Right. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So two more. So I'm giving 2 more minutes just so that you guys finish. What is this?
Hello.
Yes,
I'm getting error in the join date.
you're getting error on.
Join date.
What error are you getting?
It is giving syntax error.
So you need to check the syntax.
Means I'm not able to find out, that's why.
I will explain. You can check then. So one more minute, please. Okay, guys. So let's start the discussion. Please stop coding now. Okay, let's start writing down. So we were given conditions that I have to create a product table where product ID, unique identifier for each product, auto incremented, serial, name, category, price. You have to use enum. Enum, I will explain you how to do it. Price, stock, created at. Okay. So let's start writing down this particular syntax. First of all, let's try to create the product table. Okay. So how will you write down? You'll write down create table product. Let's say product. Okay. I'm just naming it product one because I think in my database, when I was testing, I already created it. So product one, let's say I'm creating. The first thing that you need to create is product ID. So product ID needs to be a unique identifier. So what you will write down, product underscore ID. Now it varies system to system. What did we discuss? When you are using serial, you don't need to mention auto increment. Serial by default means auto increment. Okay, and this is supposed to be the primary key, so you will mention primary key. Okay. This is my first variable. What is my second variable? It's saying name of the product must not be null. So I will write down product name. So let's call it product underscore name. Okay. And what will it be? It is a string. So let's call it varchar. Okay. Varchar. And let's give it length, for example, 50. And call it not null. Okay. This much is clear. Now the third variable was category using enum. Suppose let me explain you how to do it without enum. Suppose you do category. Okay, so the category has to be varchar. Suppose let's say it call it 50 or 40, for example. Okay, I'll explain you using enum as well, but first let's do without enum. So you will put a condition check. Okay, and in the check you will write down category in, and then you will provide all the value. For example, what is it? Electronics, clothing, home and books. Okay, so I will say electronics, then I will say clothing, then I will say I'll say books. Okay, and then I will say home. So comma home. So this is how you are ensuring enum in this way. There is another way I will explain you by using the keyword enum, but let's move it with this right now. Okay, the next variable that I'm having is it is price, a numeric column with 2 decimal places. Okay, and must be, so there are two one constraint, it should be greater than 0, and it should be a decimal value. So I will use price. Okay, and I will call it numeric. I can call it decimal as well. It's up to me. Numeric. Okay, and let's call it 10,2. Okay, and then there is a check condition. I'll put a check condition that price is greater than 0. This is my condition. Now let's move to the next variable. It is stock integer value representing the stock. Integer should be greater than 0. It means, right? So I'll say stock. I'll mention int, and I'll mention check. Stock should be greater than equal to 0. This is my first variable. And last variable is created at date and time when the product was added defaults to the current timestamp. So what I will do, I'll say created underscore at. Okay, now this is a timestamp. So I'll say this is a timestamp. Okay, and default value is what? Default value is current underscore time. So I think it is current underscore time stamp. Okay, this is it. I'll close and I will run this. So this is how you create the variable product1. Let me run it. First of all, let's see if it is running. So it is created. Any doubt, anyone, and how to create this one? So I'll just paste it.
Yeah.
All clear with the first table?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's move to the second table. I'll do little quickly. Okay. So what is the second table? Second table says you have to create a customers table, customer ID, name, email, phone, and join date. Okay. So let me create a new table. Create table, for example, customers 1. Okay. So first is customer ID, name, email. So I'll write it down quickly. Customer underscore ID. Then I have name. Let's say customer underscore name. Okay, and then I have what is it? Email, phone, and join date. Okay, so I'll say email, I'll say phone, then I will say joined underscore date. Now let me add constraints to each. So customer ID is supposed to be a serial and it is supposed to be a primary key. Correct? Now customer name, it is supposed to be a varchar. Varchar, and let's call it 100, for example. Any condition on this? Let me just check it. Name must not be null. So I will write it down, name not null. Email ID. So email ID should be a string and it has to be, must be unique and not null. Okay. So what I will do for email, I'll say varchar. Let's call it 50, let's call it 100 as well. So I have to put two constraints. First, it is unique. Second constraint is not null. So you can add multiple constraints like this. Okay. Now, phone. Phone is a string. Remember, phone is a string. 10-digit phone number must be unique. So I will write it down as char because it now why I'm using char, because it has to be stored in 10-digit. So if a customer suppose gives only 5-digit, I need those white spaces because I need 10 things. Okay, so I'll say char, let's call it 10. Okay, after that I will say unique. It is supposed to be unique, right? And what all condition is there? Unique. String stored as a 10-digit number. Okay, I mean, I think it's good. And join date. Join date is a date, basically. Okay, and what all things are there? Is there any default value given?
Yes, current
Default
date.
to the current date. So I'll say default to current underscore date and run this. So this should give me the second table. Let's see. So it is created. Someone was not getting this. Someone was getting a error. Please use this syntax.
But it is giving me error.
It is how it is giving error. It is giving correct to me. You might not be using name correctly. Are you using name here instead of customer name? Something must be wrong. You need to check because either you might be using a special name somewhere. That it could be because of that. So recheck it once because this is running perfectly. That's how. Anyone else facing error in this? You created customers auto increment primary key. Auto increment, which SQL are you using?
MySQL.
Name not null, email varchar unique not null. Current date might you are using small. Try it with capital. It should give this something like this. Try it with capital.
I have copied the one that you gave, that is also giving the same error.
Anyone else getting error in MySQL? Is anyone able to run this in MySQL? Can someone confirm? Here using auto increment. Can you try using serial?
Yes, I have copied the one that you have given, so it is having serial only. So it's not giving problem in serial, it is giving problem in join date. Can I share my screen?
You can share.
Okay.
Anyone else anyone who is able to do in MySQL? Guys, please respond there. For 16-15 people, are you not trying or what?
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
You are not using MySQL.
Okay.
Yes, Satvik, in MySQL it's showing error in current date.
It's giving error?
Yes, yes.
What error is it giving?
It's saying that incorrect syntax near the keyword current date.
Can you show me your screen? I'm not able to see the screen.
Okay. Are you able to see the screen?
It's loading. Yes, I can see now.
Okay, this is the error.
You need to check maybe Google.
I checked it. The current date is CURRDAT.
Okay, it is not current date exactly, right?
What do I need to do?
Change from current date to CURR.
DAT. CURDAT function. Let me copy in the chat.
Can you write down here in the chat?
Yeah, wait.
CURR.
Yeah, pasted it in the chat.
Current date. You need to write CURDATE and then brackets.
I just tried it in the chat.
The error still exists.
Just copy the whole code that he has given.
Okay.
Anyone else who is facing error in MySQL, please check that. It will give error. It is not giving. It will give error because it's showing red. Can someone check? I mean, I need to just use chat. Even I forgot. I don't remember what in MySQL. Current date. It's current date only, as per the Google. I just checked it. You can try. I mean, after class, just check Google. It's just some syntax error. Logically, we are same. It's just some syntax. You need to cross check what is wrong with MySQL.
Okay.
And I just checked. It says current date only, but you need to maybe just try with that. It should work. So now let's come to the last part, last table, that is orders table. Okay. So do you want me to write this, or you are able to solve it? Like anyone who is not able to do it? The order table. Anyone who is not able to do, shall I explain it, or you're good with it?
Because it has references, the first table is not created, so I couldn't do the next one.
It had references to what?
Customer table.
So I explained how to create a foreign key.
Oh, hitting the customer table, so I'm not able to create that one as well.
No, it has two. It has products and customer both. You need to create order ID, customer ID. Customer ID references the customer table. Product ID references the product table. So what you need to do, you simply write down create table orders 1. The first variable that you need to create is order ID. Second is customer ID. So we'll do order underscore ID.
Please share your screen, sir.
Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Can you see now?
Yes.
So I'll write down create table orders one, first of all, I need to have the order ID, which is a unique identifier, which is a primary key only. Okay, so I'll write it down order underscore ID, which is serial, and it is primary key. Okay. Next variable, let's read it out. The next variable says customer ID. It references the customer ID from the column in the customers table using ensure referential integrity. So the customer table that I created, it should refer to customer ID. So what I need to do, customer underscore ID. Okay. And what was customer ID? Because it was serial, it means it was int. So I'll use int here. Okay. Then references, you need to use referential integrity. References, you can use capital, sometime it gives error, I'm just ensuring that. References, to which is it referencing?
Customer table, customer ID row.
Customers one. Okay, inside customers one, it is referring to what?
Customer ID.
Customer underscore ID, correct? And if I have to maintain the foreign key relationship in extreme cases, what will I do?
On delete cascade.
Cascade.
On delete cascade. Cascade. CAS. Okay. Now let's see the next variable. Product ID. So product underscore ID, it has to refer to this one. So this is also supposed to be integer. Now let's just copy this whole code. It should reference to product one table. Okay. Product one. And in product one, it is referring to product ID. Okay. And then I will do on delete cascade. So is it clear, everyone? Then I need, someone asked quantity. Quantity, see, I don't, so yeah, quantity is an integer just. So I just need to use quantity, which is integer. And I have to put a check. What is the value? It should be greater than 0. Quantity greater than 0. Okay. Now let's come to the last condition. Second last, total price, a numeric column. See, while creating table, as I mentioned, you don't need to mention any formula. That comes when you're inserting the values. Okay. So right now, it does not matter whatever the formula is. I just need to know the variable name, data type, and constraint. So what is the data type? It is numeric. And what is the constraint? It should be greater than 0. Okay. So I will use total underscore price. Okay. It was supposed to be numeric. In numeric, you need to give a precision, which is, let's say 10, and then a decimal place. And then you need to put a check condition. So check condition says that total price should be greater than 0. Okay. After this, last variable is date, defaults to the current date. So I will use order underscore date. It is a date which default to current. You can check for MySQL. I mean, you can just use ChatGPT or something else. Let me know if it works. Otherwise, I will explore. Okay. Let me know for MySQL if it does not work. If after exploring ChatGPT, if it does not work, let me know. So this is default current state date. Okay. So yes, it is created. Now let me run this. So table is created. Okay. Now you can put values. You can try. So your homework is to like, not technically a big homework. Just try out to put values, insert values which do not satisfy the constraints. Let's see what type of error comes so that you will understand it. Okay. So this is, today we learned about how to create a table. Now let me tell you the enum part. So basically, I just researched that enum by default, it is not present in the create table syntax. So what you need to do while creating a table, you need to create a new type. So you'll write down create type, and then this is the type. So just like this is a serial varchar or something. So this is a new type that you need to create as enum, and you need to pass the values that it can take. Okay. After that, you will. So let me explain you through another example. So suppose you are creating a table. Create table. Let's say cricket. Okay. So the first name is, for example, player underscore ID, which is serial, and you can say primary underscore primary key. Suppose you want to add down, for example, country. Okay. So you want to create a country. The country could be either, so country should be from either India, Australia, okay, or England. Let's say this is the condition that it can only take these three variables. So what you will do, this enum type by default is not present in the create table command. So you need to create it. First of all, you will do create type. Okay. Now what is the type? The type is country. Okay. Suppose this type is country as enum. Okay. And you will provide all these value in that. So for example, I'll call it India, and I'll call it Australia, and I will call it England, suppose. So what it will do, once you run this particular command, it will, just like you have serial varchar, a country basically data type will be created. Okay. So this country data type will get created using enum once I run this. Now when I'm creating the table, I will mention let's say player underscore country. Okay, there I need to mention the data. What is the data type of this player country? Tell me.
You can use varchar also.
What is the data type of player country?
Country.
It should be country. Why we created a new data type now?
Oh yes.
We have to use this data type now. It will be a varchar, but now we want to ensure this enum as well. Enum you cannot use inside this, so you need to create a new data type out of it. So the data type will be country. Okay. Any doubt, anyone?
A mix of integer and string in that when you are creating enum.
So this here you can create now. You can create as many values inside. Like you can create a 1, 2, 3 as well. It is a mix of that,
okay.
Right?
So it is accepting multiple data types inside it.
Yes, it will take that. Okay. Now let me run. Let me first run it. Let's see if this runs. Okay, this string error. Cricket already exists, so I'll create cricket 1. Okay. So the table got created. All good. Now let me show you how to. Suppose I insert into this. Let's see. Insert into cricket 1. Okay. So the player underscore ID and player underscore country. Okay. So let's say this is it. I entered values. Okay. So let's say the ID is 101 and player country is, for example, India. Okay. This query will go through. Okay. Because I'm using one of the values, India here. But if I use a new row where I use a different value, for example, this one, where a player ID, say let's say 02, it will not go through. So it will not go through. Okay. Invalid input value for enum country. So how we have created? We create a new data type, just like we used these data types, right? We have created a new data type. Now this is not varchar or int. This is a new data type. You can custom data types here. Okay. So that's what we have done here. You define a new, and then here you provide enum condition. Okay. So one method is this. Another method, if you remember, I told you, you can simply use varchar, and you can use check as well. You can to filter between these values as well. Okay. So this is it for today's class. I hope you guys understood. Let me know if you have any doubt. We can stay on the call for doubt discussion. Otherwise, you guys are free to leave. I hope you guys understood something new. This is very important. Like when SQL queries and all that we will do anyways, but I didn't want to skip. In a lot of courses, people skip this part, right? And when you will go in your respective company where you're working, you'll see big codes where a lot of data creation is happening. So you need to understand those codes. Okay. So guys, again, thanks a lot for joining. And
So we'll be having like string, like all these data types we already covered. So string data type is also remaining, or what it is only
string
in
is
Java?
varchar only. String is varchar only, no? Varchar is char is string only.
Okay, and in Java, whatever string we use, that is similar to this, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
getting confused.
It is similar. String means, see, char or varchar means string only. Just keep this thing in mind. Okay? String, it just you call them in SQL. You don't call it string. Okay. In varchar, Python, it's string, right? Here you call it varchar or char. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I was doing this join date. The current date is required to be in bracket. Then it is not showing any error.
Okay, then good. You can just write down the syntax here or group so that people in MySQL can reference from there. Just put it in the WhatsApp group, right? It will help others. Thanks. So guys, thanks again for joining. Again, we will continue tomorrow 8 p.m. We have done the creation part. Now we will focus on more on reading part, and we will focus more on updation part, and gradually we will increase the complexity of SQL queries. Okay. And so tomorrow there will be an MCQ test live in the class. So come prepared based on whatever we have discussed. Okay. So guys, you're free to exit. If someone has doubt, please stay on the call. What do you mean on delete cascade? We need to mention on delete cascade. See, when I was writing this code, whenever you are defining foreign key, it is a good habit to mention on delete cascade. If you don't mention it, then in future, if a table gets deleted, if a value gets deleted in a particular table, you will automatically lose out the value. Okay, that's why it's a better thing to maintain the on delete cascade. Okay.
Can you please copy the code of orders?
I just copied. Okay, guys. So just 2 minutes remaining. I think meeting will close. So anyone, any doubt, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm dropping the call. Default means if you don't provide any value, it will take the current date. So just let me first of all increase the thing. Just give me a second. Okay. So I didn't get what do you mean? What is default here and timestamp? Lakshmi, you're asking something, right? Let me know. What
yes.
is it?
Actually, you have mentioned default there, right? So is it mandatory to mention the default in the date? Yeah. Order date is the data type. So what is the default?
It means that if a user, whenever you are inserting values, okay, it should be a format date. Okay. If user is not mentioning anything, for example, let's say by default, it will take the current date.
Okay.
It means that.
I didn't understand that concept timestamp also.
Timestamp is not a concept, let me tell you. So if you
that is like data type you have mentioned, right? Timestamp also.
Did you join late in the class, or you were not able to understand?
Actually, timestamp I didn't get. Is it a data type? Timestamp also
is a data type. So let me show you. Where is it? Timestamp.
You have provided these all things in a document, right?
In the document, everything is there. So timestamp is nothing. Let me still tell you what is that. See, this is an example. of
Okay.
timestamp. Forget this. Suppose generally, what is a date? Date is this.
Oh, okay. Timestamp means it mentioned both date and time.
Yeah, so
Okay.
let's say this is 2024-12-07. This is today's date, right? This is
Okay.
a date variable. Okay. And there's a time, there's also a time variable which says that, for example, let's say this is 16 hours, 20 minutes, and for example, 43 seconds, for example. This is time. Okay. Now, at times you need to think of why you need timestamp. For example, you need for example, when did a person purchase any item? Okay. When did you make any transaction? On which date?
Okay.
And suppose you want all this information in one variable. So that is timestamp. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay,
what
got it.
happens there? You get the date 2024-1207. In addition to this, you will get 16, 20, 43. So you'll get both of these in the same column only.
Okay.
Okay. This is called a timestamp.
Okay, thank you.
But it is present in the PPT app which I shared. You can check it from there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Anyone? Any other doubt? I just extended the meeting by half an hour if someone has any doubt. So let me know, please. Anyone? Any other question? So shall we drop off now? Okay, guys. So let's drop off. Thanks again for joining the call. I hope you guys learned. Please revise the lecture. We will meet tomorrow at 8 p.m. IST. Till then, have a good day and keep practicing. And do attempt the SQL test. Please attempt. Like, doesn't matter if you get 0 marks. I don't care about that. All I care is you are given time. Just put effort. See what type of questions are there. Okay. So don't worry about ranking and all that. That's totally fine. You just need to compete with yourself, not anyone else. Okay. So, okay, guys. Thanks again. So I'll see you tomorrow.